Hi, I'm Mrs. Grimaldi, and I am here with you again today to read to you from our book this week for our First Chapter Fridays. This week, I have chosen a nonfiction um, book called The Faraway Brothers. It is by Lauren Markham, and it is about two brothers who leave their home country of El Salvador to escape from this gang that is threatening this town. It's called the MS-13 gang, and they're fleeing from this gang who's trying to recruit young boys into this gang. And so these brothers flee this town and they come to America. And so this is the story of these boys who um, flee El Salvador and come to America. And it's their story of the challenges that they have coming to America and fleeing and the challenges that they face here once they're in America. And it is by Lauren Markham. And so I'm going to read the first chapter, which is the prologue, and give you a little insight into this book. It's a very good book. So I hope that you will come to our library and check it out. All right. So again, this is The Faraway Brothers. It's a few minutes after 9 o'clock, and the Flores twins are buckled into the back seat of Wilbur's Toyota, lurching through downtown San Francisco in search of the courthouse. As their older brother brakes and curses his way through the morning traffic, Raul and Ernesto's identical faces press against the windows as they hunt for street names and building numbers. They are lost. Their packet of immigration papers states the courthouse address, 100 Montgomery Street, and the date and time they've been ordered to appear. February 19th, 2014, at 10 a.m. This morning, they left the apartment with a 2-hour window. It's important to be not just on time, but early in the Estados Unidos, Wilbur said. Wilbur groans as they stop in the middle of a crowded intersection. At 24, he is now, for lack of a better option, his brother's guardian. He signed a paper promising to provide their basic needs, to feed and clothe them, to enroll them in school, and to get them to court on time. In his 7 years here, he'd become somewhat of an expert on the United States and its rules. A rule of the landscaping business, for instance: no work, no pay. He'd miss another day of wages today to get his brothers to court. The twins have been dreading this appointment for months. Ever since they were picked up out of the Texas desert, their shoes ripped to raggedy shreds, their bodies dizzy with thirst, they thought for sure they'd be deported right away, back to El Salvador and all that awaited them there. But they weren't. They were taken to a detention center where a woman explained to them that since they were under 18, they'd have a choice. They could opt to go back to El Salvador on their own, impossible, or they could go to court and fight for the right to stay. Court? In front of a judge? They'd need a lawyer, for starters, and the prospect of obtaining official papers seemed absurd. Why, out of all the undocumented people like them, should they, kids who'd been here only a few months, get papers? It is 9:06. They have just under an hour. Wilbur has plugged the address into his phone's GPS, but it seems to have stopped working altogether. At 17, the twins have never been to a city before, unless you count the outskirts of San Salvador, which they'd been to only a few times to visit relatives, or Mexico City, where they passed through with their coyota, the woman who'd guided them across the border. San Francisco looms like no other place they'd ever seen. Raul used to picture the buildings and the quiet nights back home, rising upward like ladders, like possibilities. But now that he's under them, they just make him feel, as most things in the United States of America so far do, small and out of place. The twins still have the lingering feeling of being chased, of needing to look over their shoulders. Every few nights now, Ernesto wakes up screaming, drenched in sweat. He won't talk about it, but Raul knows his brother. He knows how afraid Ernesto was when he was run out of town. And during that night in the desert weeks later, the road can change a person. The shelter staff members had explained how court works. The judge will come in and everyone will stand. The judge will say their names and they should respond, presente, here. Last night, the boys reviewed what they remembered, looked the judge in the eyes, they reminded each other. In the United States, their instructors told them, looking down makes you appear disrespectful. When they get to court, what will they even say to the judge? With no lawyer, no English, no idea what to argue on their own behalf, they worry they'll be deported this very day. And then what? 9:30, 9:35. Another confused, traffic-laden circuit loops them back into Market Street. Wilbur cranks the heat high. Outside, it's cold. The twins haven't brought anything to wear over their almost matching blue plaid shirts, their nicest item of clothing. Wilbur bought them, like practically everything they have. Both boys have tucked the shirts into their skinny jeans, hiked up higher than usual with the help of belts, and they've laced their sneakers tightly instead of leaving them loose tied like the kids at school. Ernesto scoffed when he saw Raul. Copying me, he said. He removes his earrings, the characteristic the teachers at school used to tell them apart. As 10 o'clock approaches, Ernesto blinks rapidly, and Raul breathes heavily through his nose, lips pressed into a tight, thin line. Should we ask somebody? Raul finally whispers. Ernesto shoots him a look. Who? Who would we possibly ask? The twins barely speak English, and though Wilbur can hold his own, how could he pull over a car in the middle of downtown Rush? In spite of his 7 years here, Wilbur feels just as much as his brothers do, that immigrant and illegal are painted on him like a sign. Ernesto wants to scream at his brother. How long have you lived here? Can't you find this courthouse? But his throat seems to have closed up. They'll miss their appointment. They'll be sent home. They'll wind up dead. And what would have been the point of any of it? The journey, the debt. At a certain point, you just give up. The boys know it at the exact same moment. As with many things, Wilbur feels it too. It's an hour past their appointment. It's over. Okay, Wilbur says. The twins say nothing, just watch out the windows as the throng of people drifts away and the car turns onto the bridge. They won't go to school today, probably not tomorrow. It would be too easy for immigration to find them. And La Migra, the immigration authority, has Wilbur's address too. They could go hide out somewhere, but Wilbur is the only person here they really know. They've been hunted by gangs, by packs of wild coyotes in the desert, by bad spirits, by rumors, by debt, by La Migra. They've been chewed up and spit out all over this godforsaken continent, and after all of this, just for missing an appointment, they're sure they'll be delivered back to El Salvador for good. But they can't go back. For too long, the Flores twins have been running. They may have reached a dead end. That's the beginning of The Faraway Brothers. And so you're going to get a look back on how they ended up in San Francisco and then their life in San Francisco after they've gotten here. So you can check this out in our library today if you'd like. Just click the link on this slide, and we hope that you will enjoy this book and many of the others we have to offer. Thank you.